Back when Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth came out, it quickly cemented its place in the franchise and among the top tier games of the franchise. It even made #1 in WatchMojo's top 10 Digimon games of all time. So in their eyes, it is the greatest Digimon game that's ever released. So, of course, when a sequel was announced, a lot of people got excited, including me. I wasn't overly obsessed with it, but as release day came closer and closer, I got more and more excited. Now that it's here, it surprised a lot of people, mostly because a lot of people thought it was just going to be the original Cyber Sleuth game with some enhancements. But it's really more of a sequel. Without further ado, here is my review of Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory for the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation TV. The plot of Hacker's Memory is classified as a sequel, but really it takes place in the same world and at the same time as the original Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. For those unaware of the original game, the setting is a world where Eden, a virtual reality-based network, has transformed computer servers and social media into three-dimensional explorable cyberspace worlds, full of normal people and hackers who use Digimon to fight in turf wars and break into websites. In Hacker's Memory, you play as a young man whose account is stolen, leading to severe social seclusion, so he joins up with a hacker group that is like a contractor for solving issues in Eden, his included. Diving into the world of hacking to gain back his virtual identity, like many other RPGs, the group unknowingly becomes involved in events surrounding Eden, Digimon, and the fate of the entire world as the events of Cyber Sleuth play out. Now, as far as jumping into the series with Hacker's Memory, the reality is that you have very, very limited exposure to the characters and events of the original game. You do see a few of the major events, but Hacker's Memory has its own unique cast of characters and a storyline that is connected to only them. You do see cameos from the original cast, but really, you don't need to play Cyber Sleuth to be able to understand Hacker's Memory. In terms of story and plot, Hacker's Memory can't really be looked at as an enhanced version of the original game. In terms of gameplay, though, it can. While there are some new enhancements and additions, which I will explain in just a moment, the main progression of Cyber Sleuth is still here in Hacker's Memory. You're still going to be running around 3D dungeons, you're still going to be catching and evolving Digimon to take place in turn-based combat for you, and you're still going to be doing cases for NPCs and Digimon in your free time. Outside of balancing in the Digivolution system, there are two major additions to this game from the last. First of all, there are more than 80 new Digimon that have been added to the game, and more on the way through free updates and patches. Most notably here is the addition of two new Digimon lines known as the Sistermon lines. They are completely new to the franchise and they were not in any of the previous games or anime television series. The second is the new strategy-based boss fights known as domination battles. When you get to certain boss fights in the storyline, you will have parties of characters on large grids, and these domination battles are very similar to strategy RPG battles. You will move your characters along the grid, taking over territory to get points for your team. Once a certain team reaches a certain number of points, that team wins. But you end up fighting your opponent's parties over territory in the standard Digimon battles. Win the battles and knock them away back to the spawn point, and that territory and all of its points are yours. Not that many of the boss fights use this system, but you will have several of them thrown at you across the length of the game's plot. Now, as I said a moment ago, the only other real change made to the original game was balancing the Digivolution system a little bit. The way the Digivolution system works is that unlike Pokemon where you only need to reach a certain level for a Pokemon to evolve into its next form, Digimon require level requirements, stat requirements, and sometimes DLC requirements. Specifically, the higher tiers require a certain level of the ABI stat that only increases when you Digivolve or De-Digivolve. So to get those high ABI numbers, you have to constantly Digivolve, De-Digivolve, Digivolve, De-Digivolve. And for some of the more overpowered Mega tiers like Lilithmon or Omni Shoutmon, you had to do this a lot. To cite an example, let's say you get 7 ABI every time you Digivolve and De-Digivolve. You need 80, so that's what, 12, 15 cycles? That's a lot of grinding, and that's just for one Digimon. So that remains unchanged, and you're still going to be doing a significant amount of grinding to get the Digimon in your party that you want, at least as far as the Mega Tiers go. And speaking of grinding, let's talk about the game's length. Cyber Sleuth was a very long RPG, and as its sequel, Hacker's Memory is also a very long RPG. I cleared the game's story in slightly under 65 hours, but really, I would easily give 10 to 15 of those hours to me senselessly grinding early on and later on to get various Digimon in my party like Lilymon, who's been my Digi crush ever since I watched Digimon Adventure way back when. So if you don't account for grinding, I would put story completion at around 50 hours, which is still pretty long for a handheld RPG. The only thing I can say about controls is something that you can easily tell by the fact that I'm playing this on a PlayStation TV. Just like Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory is 100% compatible with the PlayStation TV, so Vita TV owners do not need to worry about it not being compatible. Now, presentation is really interesting in this game. Graphically, the game's engine actually is a little downgraded from the previous game's engine. There are more jagged edges, and there are more little faded pieces on the renders, but if you're playing on the PlayStation Vita, you can't tell. The only reason I even know about this is because I started this game on the PlayStation TV, and if you look close on the PlayStation TV, you can see the little pieces where they slightly downgraded the graphics so that it would be more stable on the frame rate side. Again, and you're playing on the Vita, you can't even tell, and it still looks quite nice for a PlayStation Vita RPG. And I don't really have any issues with performance. The frame rate is nice and steady throughout. Didn't have any loading or crashing issues. I will say that one of the original patch notes did talk about stability, but I was playing the game before that came out and I didn't have any problems with it then either. Now, in conclusion, Hacker's Memory is a lot more than just Cyber Sleuth 1.5 or 2.0. The grind-heavy nature of the evolution system is still here, but with a lengthy new storyline, dozens of new Digimon to find, and the new domination battles, this is a great monster taming RPG, whether you're a fan of Cyber Sleuth or newcomers to the Cyber Sleuth series. Reviews to Go rates Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory a 9 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.